I faked the disappearance of our son to my wife. She is panicking, but she needs to learn her lesson. My wife has a horrible habit that I discovered 2 months ago. We were ordering lunch on the Subway app, and I told her to pick the location that has a drive-thru. That way, we don't have to go inside and take the baby out of the car just to clip him back in a few minutes later. She told me it's not a big deal to leave the baby in the car to run in and pick it up really fast. I had no idea she ever did this. I told her I was not comfortable with her leaving him in the car alone even for a minute, and she told me she's been doing it since he was born and it's always been fine. She told me she does it when she picks up food, runs into the post office or pharmacy, etc. I was floored. We don't live in a horrible area, but it's also not super safe either. I told her not to ever do this again. She told me she never stopped to think about the potential dangers and that she would stop doing it. Well, yesterday, as I was driving home from my brother's house, I spotted her car at the gas station near our place. It was parked in a spot up front and not a pump, so I figured she would stop in to grab some snacks, which we like to do. I decided to stop and go in and say hi and get some food, and I pulled in and parked next to her. However, when I got there, I was furious to find our son in his car seat. The car wasn't even locked. I don't know what came over me, but in that moment, I decided to take my son and put him into my car. He's got a car seat in there too. I then drove to the other side of the gas station parking lot and waited for my wife to come out. It took 6 minutes for her to appear. When she saw that he was gone, she looked stunned for a second and then started to frantically look around and cry. I didn't let it go on long. After this, I saw her pull her phone out, presumably to call 911, and that's when I pulled my car around to her. I parked, got out, and walked around to my son's door, and I opened it to show him to her. She looked extremely relieved, but that quickly turned into anger, with her asking me why I took him and why I did that to her. I told her she needed to learn her lesson, and she promised to stop leaving him in the car, and that she was extremely irresponsible. It was so easy for me to pull up and take him. No one else at the gas station even noticed. So if he really was taken, there would have been no help, and it would have been 100% her fault. She proceeded to call me cruel and psychotic and tried taking our son out of my car into hers. I said no and that I would be driving him home, and I left. She came home not much later but ignored me for the rest of the day. She acknowledged me today, saying she wanted an apology, and I said absolutely not, and she's the one who should be saying sorry. She's been guilt-tripping me the rest of the day, saying no mother should experience the fear that I put her through. So, did I go too far? Am I the a-hole? Update. So, I sat my wife down this morning and I did apologize for the way I went about things, but said I was not sorry for caring about our son's safety and in the moment felt like she needed a huge wake-up call. She apologized for lying and continuing to do this unsafe practice. I asked her why she seems so casual about what she is doing. Most parents I know, myself included, are on the paranoid side when it comes to their kids, and she has been doing this for so long without seeing an issue. I asked her if she thinks she is dealing with some kind of postpartum mental health issue, as I don't consider this normal. She broke down crying, saying she doesn't know what's wrong with her. She has agreed to seek counseling, and until there is a major change/improvement, I will be running all errands with my son, or we will be doing them together. But I told her I cannot trust her anymore to take him places by herself. So, I'm not gonna blame OP for wanting his baby, his infant child, to be attended to or watched over at all times. I think that's reasonable. Is what he did a little harsh and a little too much? Yeah, you could say that, but I'm sure some people will say, hey, she did need that wake-up call, but I'm not going to rag on the wife or anything like that. She said, hey, like, maybe there's something wrong, I'm going to improve, and the husband's like, hey, you need to improve until I can leave you alone with the child so that you can take the baby to the grocery store, because babies love grocery stores. But like OP said, she was inside for 6 minutes, probably even more, and the car was unlocked. Nobody saw him take the baby. It is that easy in real life, like, for someone to actually do that. So I understand him, not wanting that to happen. That's reasonable, but maybe he went too far. But anyway, it seems like she's gonna work on herself, so that's good. But anyway, next story. Story number 2. I found out my sister has been lying about our family to her friends for years. I am not great at explaining things, so bear with me, I guess. So about 3 years ago, my 15F older sister, 17F, Leah, personality did a 180 overnight. She went from being the sweet, reliable big sister to kinda snappy and closed off. She stopped doing chores and would get an attitude if anyone reminded her. She spent all day in her room, you get the point. I was 12 at the time, so I was just like, why is she acting like that? And my brother, 21M, was moved out and busy with school and whatnot. In the beginning, my parents chalked it up to teenage girl hormones, which was also technically part of the issue. But also, one night, she just came out of her room crying and told us that she is bisexual. My parents were extremely supportive of this, so was my brother, because he's gay. I wasn't educated on this kind of stuff at the time, so I didn't get it until my parents explained it to me and why it was such a big deal to her. And I was just like, cool, good for you, sis. So anyways, her behavior got better after that, and she was being nice to us again. She didn't hang out with me as much though, because, you know, what teenage girl wants to be around her little sister? So, fast forward 3 years later, me and my sister are really close again, or at least I thought we were. One thing I've noticed with my parents is that her friends started acting very weird towards us. Like, they wouldn't talk to us when they came over, whenever they did, or would occasionally make backhanded remarks or roll their eyes when we spoke. It was weird, but again, this was only when they came over, which was rarely, so me and my parents just kind of brushed it off like, whatever, they don't have to like us. Well, I just found out why they act like this, probably like an hour ago. I was peacefully binge watching an anime when my phone started buzzing like crazy. When I checked, I was added into a group chat on Instagram by her friends. In this group chat, they were basically bashing me for being a horrible person. They were calling me homophobic, a spoiled brat, terrible sister, golden child, homewrecker, kept telling me I need to apologize to my sister for abusing her. So obviously, I'm confused. When I expressed my confusion to them, they told me to stop acting dumb and innocent. Later, they realized I was being serious and genuinely did not know what they were talking about. That's when they sent me a bunch of screenshots between them and my sister. To sum things up, my sister has fed her friends a very wild story about her life and how we treat her. First, our parents are extremely homophobic and are kicking her out at 18 because of her sexuality. Next, when she came out, I quickly became the favorite child. I'm spoiled and get everything I want, and because of this, I treat her badly for fun? Also, I hit her, steal/break her things, verbally abuse her, and call her homophobic slurs. Not only do my parents allow it, they encourage it. Also, she's forced to do all of the chores and cooking in the house, including cleaning my room. This girl doesn't know how to cook. And she lied about other stuff, like having autism, and me making fun of her for it, which is crazy because I'm the one with autism. There is so much more, and the screenshots go back like 2 years, so she's been telling them this stuff for close to 3 effing years. I asked them why it's taken them this long to confront me, and they said she begged them not to confront or talk to us about it because apparently it will make things worse for her, and her plan was just to go no contact with us once she turned 18. But they couldn't hold it back this time, because the most recent thing she told them was that apparently I found out about the guy that she likes/is talking to, and immediately found his social media and started texting him now that he won't talk to her. So, it wasn't the alleged abusing, but apparently this was the straw that broke the camel's back for them. Okay. I debunked as much as I could. I sent them pictures from pride festivals that we went to with her, sent them pictures of us, we take a lot together, and sent them pictures of my brother with his boyfriend. They were pissed, but I asked them not to do anything until I figure out how to deal with it, because apparently my sister is the abused black sheep of the family. They agreed not to say anything. The conversation about me stealing the boy she likes happened a few hours ago. I checked on my sister and she was peacefully sleeping, so she doesn't know about the group chat. As for me, I am having many emotions about this. I am shocked, hurt, angry. It feels like a huge slap in the face. I don't know how to go about this. I don't even know why she's doing it. For attention? I don't know. Reddit, what should I do? Now here are some relevant comments. User 1 said, is it possible she found her coming out to you guys as anticlimactic and felt the need to create her own narrative or something? It wouldn't be the first time I've read about someone doing something like this. I read another post of this woman smearing against her parents about blogging about how horribly she was treated, and her parents got wind of it and exposed her. She got in trouble for that. She was an adult too. I suggest inviting all the friends and the parents and confront her together so she doesn't continuously change her narrative. It might feel like ganging up on her, but this is how you catch her in her lies. She's almost 18. She could leave soon and destroy your family's reputation. She's already doing that, but she could lie about all of that in her college applications and other stuff. Have your parents contact her therapist to update what she's been up to. I honestly have no clue. I wrote in another comment that reading the messages from the screenshots her friend sent me, I couldn't even recognize her. She sounds like another person in these text messages, so much so that I thought her friends were just fabricating it. At home, she's completely normal, doesn't lie, sweet as always, mature, you get the idea. Also, can you send me a link to that post, please? Update number 1. First off, I want to thank everyone for your advice. You all helped me get my thoughts in order, so I really appreciate that. So, now for the update. I talked to my parents, and it went kinda how I expected, kinda not. Also, I know this is kinda late, and I do apologize for that. I stayed up most of the night. A, because I was reading your comments and whatnot, and B, couldn't sleep that much. Got about 2 hours in. But I went with the obvious advice y'all gave me and took screenshots of everything, including the messages from the last night's group chat. My dad gets home earlier than my mom, and my sister has a part-time job, so I spoke to my dad first. Obviously, he was furious, shocked, hurt. It was hard watching it happen since I love my dad. He also apologized a lot, as I'm the one who had to find this out and sit him down. Anyway, my mom got home and my dad wanted to talk to her alone, so I went in my room. This is the unexpected part. I heard my parents arguing a lot, and I will skip the details, but I later found out that my mom knew about Leah's lies. She found out about 5 months ago and didn't tell my dad. I don't know the details, but apparently she made my sister promise not to do it anymore and just trusted that she wouldn't? What? Safe to say, my dad was pissed. Leah got home and things got worse. More screaming from Leah. It was hard not to hear because I was literally in the house, but my dad said that Leah was punching and scratching her legs, threatening to end her life. Also screaming that she was going to end my life. So I was kinda scared to leave my room. Literally never heard my sister scream like that before. My dad was already mad that my mom went behind his back and kept him out of something that involves his child. My mom defended herself, saying that she was just protecting Leah and that she's just a kid. But my dad is smart enough to realize that Leah is clearly not mentally well and said she needed to be put into a mental hospital. A lot of you said the same in the comments. From what I heard and what my dad told me, my mom begged him not to, but dad was already pissed about what she did, so he threatened to leave her if she didn't comply. There was more arguing, but eventually they did drive her to the hospital, and obviously I haven't seen her. My dad and I are now at my paternal grandparents, and he is not currently speaking to my mom, but he did tell her that if she tries to take Leah out, then she is ending their marriage. I also spoke to my brother, and obviously he was hurt, but more concerned for our sister, so there's that. My dad and I have talked a lot. Good talks. He apologized to me for everything going on, but it's not his fault, so there's nothing to forgive. If anything, I feel more bad about the situation, but me and my dad are good. I'm not sure exactly where my parents' relationship stands, but right now my dad told me not to worry about adult stuff and to just focus on being a kid and going to school. So that's what I'm gonna try and do. But that's basically everything for now. I will update if anything else happens. Thank you again, Reddit. Now, here are some more relevant comments. User 1 said, "You were so brave, and I'm so happy that you told your parents. It's wonderful that your dad has you and your sister's back. Your mom seems scared and obviously ill-equipped to handle the gravity of your sister's symptoms. Your dad is right, though. He's got this. You are safe and loved. It takes work, but now that your sister's actions and symptoms are in the open, you all can start to heal. By telling your dad, you started the healing journey. That is a huge and amazing thing. Also, for some reassurance regarding your sister, 7 years ago, my sister had several psychotic breaks. It was a combo of drugs, complex trauma, later diagnosed BPD, so a different situation, but it did result in her threatening to end my life, and she wanted to. All while she was taken to the mental hospital. It was scary. And after doing a crap ton of work, therapy, taking her meds, etc., she is leveled. Honest and just a little weird. We have a strong and very honest relationship. I didn't mention this in either of my posts because I didn't think it was relevant, but now it kinda is. An issue with my mom is that ever since Leah came out, she does kinda coddle her and make excuses for her crappy behavior. I'll be like, "Why is Leah being kinda rude today?" And my mom will say, "Oh, well, I'm sorry. She's just young and trying to navigate her sexuality as a young teenager, and this and that," and you get it. Then user 2 commented and said, Wait, during her freakout, did your sister at any point try to explain why she did that? I mean, I have a pretty good idea why, but I want to hear what she had to say. Also, please stick with your dad. No, she did not explain. At first, Dad said she was lying. She said her friends were trying to get her in trouble. Then she said I was trying to get her in trouble, but Dad wasn't having it. She tried making excuses, but in the end, I didn't find out the reason from her. Then, one user commented and asked OP about the possibility of her mom hiding this from the family and thinking it was a phase that the sister might just get over. I have a theory as to why. Unfortunately, my mom has always been the person to run or turn away from difficult situations. I think that in my mom's heart, she knew she needed to do something about it, but at the same time, my sister is her sweet angel, and my mom just didn't want to face the possibility that Leah is anything other than her sweet angel, so she ignored it and forgot it happened. And then another commenter expressed their concern for OP and asked if she is able to keep her personal things away from her sister if she is released, and said, "Most of her lies were about me, weirdly enough. It's just so crazy how she can be so loving towards me, but if you read those messages, you would think that she hated me. She didn't just make up the lies about how I treat her, she would bash my character any chance she got, and so would her friends. Things I always thought she loved about me when she was actually making fun of it behind my back for years. I don't know if my dad is considering divorce or not. Marriage counseling for sure. How he sees it is, if she keeps a secret about something so huge for months involving his child, what else is she hiding? Also, I will talk to my dad about erasing me from her phone. And people can say what they want, but I will not be giving her a pass for what she did because her mental health is crap. Mental health or not, she made a choice to actively bash and destroy my character behind my back for 3 years. She is my sister, and I will always love and care for her, and I am rooting for her to get better. But as of right now, I don't have to like her. It's going to take a long time for her to earn my trust back and forgive her, if she even wants that. I don't think my sister even likes me. I don't have to be the fire that keeps her warm. And then one user asked OP about her sister's admission to the mental health facility and if the sister will get therapy. Like I said before, I don't know the ins and outs of therapy or mental hospitals. I wasn't there when they took her. All I know is that they were gone for a few hours before they came back, and me and my dad went to my grandparents. I asked my dad about it, and they said honestly it depends on the situation and what the person is dealing with. When they took her, her legs were bleeding and swollen from hurting herself, plus the details of what happened previously. So, yes, as of right now, she is in 72-hour hold or whatever. It's not just the fact that she was making threats. She was literally injured from hurting herself. Then, user 3 commented and said, "It's probably a good idea to limit her internet access for a bit after she gets out, or at least to monitor it a lot. There is a chance she might start spreading lies on there too, if she's given the chance right after coming back. Also, I know you said that your father isn't going to go for a divorce yet, but please tell him to still gather evidence now of what your mom did, just in case. Theoretically, if it does come to divorce, if your sister ends up in sole or majority custody of your mother, I'm willing to bet that she's going to keep enabling your sister. And since your mom did already, your sister would probably ask to be with her. At your ages, courts usually let teens decide who to be with. Your father would have to prove why that would be bad. This is just based off of my experiences going through a ton of custody battles when I was younger between my parents. Yeah, my dad has already said that he will do everything to help my sister get better, but she's not getting a pass because of her mental issues. She still chose to do something awful and continued doing it for 3 years. She's not going to have the same privileges she had when she gets out. No phone or other entertainment devices for a while, and no hanging out with friends outside of school. Not that she has to anymore. The point is, if I didn't find out what I did, something very catastrophic could have happened, like getting called CPS on them, or worse. Dad said that Leah needs to understand that as much as good behavior gets rewarded, bad actions have bad consequences. As for my parents, I still have no idea. They did end up speaking on the phone earlier, but it was pretty short. All I know right now is that Dad doesn't trust Mom and thinks she might be hiding other stuff, and he definitely wants to get marriage counseling and probably family therapy for all of us. Update number 2. Hey guys, it's been a minute, but I have another update if y'all are interested. Also, thanks again for the sweet comments. It means more than you know. I will start with some of the positive stuff first. I got to see my brother and his boyfriend. They took me and my dad to the movies and out to dinner. It was really fun, and it took my mind off of things. New Year's was really fun. I spent it with my dad's side of the family. I haven't shared too much details with friends because this is a family matter, but from what they do know, they've been super supportive and very sweet. Now on to other stuff. Leah was supposed to get out on the 1st, but that didn't end up happening. She did get out on the 5th and is at home with our mom. Again, I repeat, I don't know how all that stuff works. I had a conversation with my dad about not feeling comfortable going home and being around my sister and mom just yet, and he was very understanding, but he did have to go back home for obvious reasons, and my grandparents were more than pleased to keep me there. About my sister, from what I know, her first day out, she didn't talk to anyone and basically just slept the rest of the day. Second day was a little rough. She wasn't happy about not getting her phone back or having some privileges taken from her. My mom tried to fight with my dad about it, but basically gave up as she's still in hot water with him. When my mom found out I wasn't coming home right away and wasn't really open to talking to Leah about the situation, she got pretty upset and sent me a message. She basically said that I can't be mad at Leah because she's not well and needs all the support she can get right now. And apparently she's distraught that I don't want to talk to her and that I'm making things worse. Okay, literally never cared less. Leah does have depression and anxiety. I don't know any more than that, other than she is being medicated. I'm pretty sure my dad did talk to my sister's therapist to update her on the situation. Also, my dad did go through my sister's phone, and it wasn't cute. He found a group chat where my sister and her friends would basically harass this girl from their school. And the reason? No clue. Not just for that situation, but for the whole situation in general, my dad did have to find the numbers of Leah's friends' parents and let them know of what's been going on. I have no clue what's happening with them, but it's none of my business. Leah did admit that the lying was for attention and false sympathy, and she never meant for it to go this far. Not sure if I believe that entirely. I don't think I need it, but my dad also wants to put me in therapy, so I'm just going to go with it. Big issue right now. My mom continues to coddle and enable my sister. My sister knows this too, so she hasn't been going to my dad about anything because she knows that he is actually going to parent her. My mom will try to stand her ground with Leah, but then the waterworks start and blah blah blah. It's annoying and it's making my dad upset. It's the fact that my sister knows she can get my mom to do what she wants. It's manipulative and gross. I have gone back to school and Leah is coming back soon. I'm worried for when that happens. A lot of you said she might try and spin some story with teachers or counselors, but also, as of right now, my sister is essentially friendless, and I'm not going to talk to her at school either. I mean, it is the consequences of her own actions, but I can't help but pity her. I just don't want her loser ex-friends to come up and be a-holes to her. At the end of the day, I think that inevitably there will be a meeting with Leah, my parents, ex-friends, and their parents, and the girl that Leah and her friends harassed. I already said this in a comment, but I'm gonna say it here too. Regardless of what y'all think, I do not plan on forgiving or speaking to my sister anytime soon. She does not get a pass because her mental health is crap. She still actively chose to do something disgusting and continued to do that for 3 years. She did not just make up lies about how I treat her. Her and her loser squad would actively make fun of and bash my character any chance they got. Looks, hobbies, interests were all bashed. I would never let someone speak about my sister that way that she let them speak about me. I love her and genuinely hope she gets better, but I don't have to like her. My mom can think I'm a brat and my sister can cry about it as much as she wants. I don't care. It's going to take a long time for me to trust her again. It honestly terrifies me to the core how insanely two-faced a person can be. Literally baffles me. Main issue right now, mom and dad. My dad wanted to fight for their marriage. He really did. Looked into marriage counseling and individual counseling immediately. But after more talking and arguing about my sister, my mom lying and continuing with her BS, my dad ended up finding something very disgusting that my mom has been hiding from him that has left him heartbroken. I'd rather not get into it, but I'm sure y'all have some ideas. I'm still letting all of this process. So no, my dad does not plan on continuing with my mother. Things are a little tough right now. My dad can't exactly just leave our house, mainly because my sister refuses to leave my mom, and understandably, my dad doesn't want to leave Leah alone with her. So he's staying just until some legal stuff is sorted out, and I don't plan on going back anytime soon. That's basically it for now. I don't know if I'll update again, we'll just have to wait and see. I love my dad so much. He's my best friend, so I'm just gonna try my best to cheer him up and be a good kid during these times. Thank Thanks again for all the support. Y'all are great. Now, here are some more relevant comments. User 1 said, "It's situations like this that make you realize who your parents' favorite child is. And it sounds like Leah is your mom's. Does your mom have a history of doing the same thing, lying for attention?" To be honest, I've always been closer with my dad. Leah's always been closer to my mom, and growing up, my mom never showed any blatant favoritism between us, but it's always been kinda obvious even to members outside of immediate family which child is closer to which parent. To answer your last question, I'm honestly not sure if she was like that when she was younger. If you haven't already guessed, some people have, my dad recently found out my mom had an affair. And from what I've observed and what I've been updated on, my mom refuses to take accountability for it and keeps playing the victim. New update. Honestly, I didn't think I would be making another update, but the account has just been sitting here and I felt bad for leaving everyone on a cliffhanger. Spoilers, it got worse. So, I'll start with my parents. They aren't speaking. Well, they are, but through attorneys. But my mom can't be civil for 2 seconds in the same room as my father. I did write this in a comment, but yes, my mother was having an affair. There were some theories that my sister found out about the affair, which triggered her breakdown, or she found out, so mom and her were covering for each other. My mom's affair started just short of a year ago, and Leah had no clue. It's unknown if this was my mother's only affair. Now onto Leah. She got much worse. My mom basically went against everything my dad and her agreed on, and gave her phone back, plus other privileges. My dad wasn't even surprised anymore and just turned her service off. He pays for all of our phones. He's also planning on taking my mom and sis off the family plan. She did go back to school, which turned out the way I expected. She's doing school from home now, and I'll get into that. In my last post, I believe I mentioned that my dad went through my sister's phone and found a very disturbing group chat where Leah and the loser girls would bully this other girl. I don't think I can actually classify what they were doing to this girl as bullying, though. I talked about it in private messages with someone, but it's not something I want to repeat on here. Please just know that it was very, very disturbing and gross. Enough so that the school needed to get involved, which did happen. I'll just call this girl Claire. I won't get into the details of what happened during this school meeting, but the ex-friends and my sister got expelled. Yes, expelled. Leah's one and only excuse for the bullying was, "She was a B-word to me." My parents were just going to enroll Leah in a alternative school, but her ex-friend group was also going to that school, and they were angry with my sister, threatening to jump her and stuff. My mom feared for her safety, ironic, so she's doing it from home instead. I actually spoke to Claire privately, mostly to apologize on behalf of my sister and let her know we had no clue. She was honestly one of the sweetest people I've ever spoken with. I feel terrible. She did not deserve what my sister was putting her through, and it honestly makes me ashamed that I related to her. Claire is doing okay though. She has a good support system and is in therapy. Leah has completely stopped going to therapy and taking her meds, and basically switched from her victim mentality to just straight up being disgusting to everyone in her life that cares about her, with the exception of being nice to my mom when she wants something. Leah and I did eventually end up speaking through text. When she got her phone back, she sent me a long paragraph on Instagram, which I won't post on here. But to sum it up, it was basically just her saying that everything that's going on with our family right now is my fault. And all of this could have been avoided if I just talked to her first about the screenshots. Not inherently untrue, but I also don't really care. Originally, I believe my dad was going to try and get primary custody of Leah because he didn't trust my mother for obvious reasons. And I don't know the details of the discussions he's had with his lawyer about it, but Leah's gonna be 18 soon. Plus, with everything else going on, I don't think he's going to do that anymore. My dad and I did have a long conversation about Leah and what the future looks like for her. To sum that up, he will always love and care for her as his daughter, but as a person, he doesn't particularly like her at the moment. If Leah came home and showed him genuine signs of remorse, plus wanting to get better, he would do so in a heartbeat. But as for right now, you can't help someone who doesn't want help. Forcing it won't make things better. As for my mother and I, we aren't speaking either. Our last conversation was mostly her screaming at me and berating me over the phone, mostly over me being a brat and not wanting to come home. I don't really know what the future looks like right now. All I know is I'm gonna stick with my dad. Both my dad and I have been going to therapy, which has been keeping things lighter and less stressful, so that's good. But that's basically the update. I'm sorry to all of those who were really rooting and praying for my sister to get better. This is not easy for anyone in my family right now, but I do apologize. Once again, thanks for all the support and sweet comments. It means a lot. I did end up showing my dad the posts, which he thankfully wasn't upset about. He appreciates all the support Reddit has shown our family. I may update again if anything major happens, but if I don't, I don't. Thanks again. All right, y'all, I got a new term when it comes to reading these stories. I am empathetically entertained. I am entertained from reading the story and the journey that I have went on, but I am empathetic to the situation that OP and her father and her family is going through. I think you can reasonably be both, but on a serious note, I mean, what do you do here? I think the dad kind of hit it on the head there that, like, yeah, that's his daughter, and he loves her as a daughter, but as a person, he's not too happy with her right now, and it seems like OP's the same way with her sister. It's like, yeah, that's my sister, I will love her, but right now you are not my favorite person, and like the dad said, you can't help someone who doesn't want help. It only makes things worse. You can try and maybe it'll work, maybe you can, brute force it, but it's not an easy thing. And as for the mother and the cheating, I don't think I forgot about you, Diane. Girl. I feel like the mother was like the pivotal character, the biggest obstacle here, preventing things to, better resolve themselves by covering things up and enabling and cheating as well, but that's kind of separate to, like the sister stuff. But anyway, next story. Story number 3. Am I the a-hole for hiding a past bisexual relationship from my wife? I, 42M, spent the summers of the early 2000s and my early 20s going to all the concerts I possibly could. The pop-punk/rock scene was at its peak when I was at the perfect age for it. I would spend every penny I made at terrible jobs on live music or traveling to see live music. I'm sure no one familiar with the scene at the time would be shocked to hear that I was hooking up with a lot of people I met. 99.9% of said hookups were all with women, but the culture of nonconformity made experimentation feel easier and less daunting than it did in the real world. Kissing guys in crowds was a favorite pastime of mine for a while, until I met someone who we will call Max. He and I immediately connected, and we spent the next 2 weeks or so attached at the hip. It's not something I could even accurately define as a relationship, hence the quotation marks in the title. It was just a very intense 2 weeks of us getting to know each other, going on road trips, and sort of falling in love while experiencing something we both loved. He told me he thought we were better as friends, and wasn't sure he was really into dudes. It was the most profound hurt I had ever felt in my life, and it really shocked me. I had been in relationships before, real ones that included commitment and lasted for months, and I hadn't taken those breakups nearly so hard. He and I remained friends after I took some time to myself, but I never had another relationship with a man after that. It felt like that level of hurt was my warning sign to stay away. Now I'm old, married, and most of my music enjoyment these days comes in the form of me sitting at home listening with a glass of wine, as opposed to sweltering, crowded venues or summer festival places. I have 2 amazing children, and most of my time and brain power is spent focused on how I can be the best dad to them, and how to raise good humans in the scary world we live in right now. Max and I are still friends. He lives nearby with a lovely family of his own, and we see each other fairly often. His kids are friends with mine. Our wives are friends. Recently, while going through some old stuff, I found old photos of Max and I in our eyeliner wearing heydays that had been tucked away. When his family came over, I pulled them out to show everyone. We all had a bit to drink, and Max said something along the lines of, "It's us in our bisexual phase." I could tell my wife's demeanor changed, and once we were alone that night, I was all but interrogated over it. I told her it was a brief 2-week fling, that I don't really identify as bisexual these days, or when I met her, and that I didn't see it worth mentioning. She said I broke her trust by hiding this, and that she needs time to think about things. This all happened on Friday night, and things are still incredibly tense between us. I'd like some advice or reassurance or something. It wasn't something I was actively hiding, it just never came up. Am I the a-hole? Edit. For most of our time together, we would fool around, but it was mostly over the clothes stuff. Things got more involved as the time went on. We were both inexperienced with men, so it wasn't exactly either of our best work, but learning together was fun and lighthearted. We only had penetrative sex once, a night before the "I'd rather just be friends" conversation, which probably exacerbated the hurt for me. I think that's when it became more real for us both, and he noped out right after. Now here are some relevant comments. User 1 said, "Ordinarily, you don't have to, in my opinion, disclose past sexual history of flings, etc. You liken this relationship to a time in your life when you were young and free and having fun. Maybe it was just experimentation in the scene, or just 2 people who met and clearly had a connection based on hobbies. But you have described this relationship as profound. You continued a friendship with this person, including your wife and children in this, all the while not discussing this to the one person you should have, Your wife. Your friend has very obviously told his wife. It's not a secret to him. He clearly has no residual feelings on this time or your relationship. You have kept this hidden for one reason or the other. You need to assess why you have done that. Your wife was blindsided by this information. Everyone knew but her. I would say is most definitely questioning the reasons for this deception of yours. I say you should most definitely question the reasons for this deception of yours. And I'd say for her, she's hurt, mortified, and maybe questioning your relationship. I don't know you or your wife, so I don't know if you or her have any issues surrounding same-sex relationships. Maybe this is the reason you never told her this, either your own feelings on the matter or her reaction. But you have lied to your wife. You've broken trust in her. You knew, your friends knew, her friends knew. She was the only one who didn't know. That's seriously messed up. You really, really messed up here. To my knowledge, she doesn't have any issues surrounding same-sex relationships. It's something I feel very strongly about, and something we've talked about, especially in terms of raising our children. I was very vocal about the fact that I wanted our children to be shown what love and acceptance looks like, as opposed to just tolerance. She agreed. Still, as another commenter said, some people have real hang-ups about men having been with other men in the past, even if they support LGBT rights as a concept. So, while I wouldn't have been scared to tell her had it come up or been relevant to our partnership, I'm still unsure how she would have reacted. Then OP replied to a comment on why he didn't tell his wife early on about his relationship with Max, and if Max thought OP's wife knew about their times together. I talked to him about it and he apologized to me because he thought she knew. He would never openly say that in front of people he thought weren't aware. I told him the same thing I said here. I didn't think it was super important to mention, and that she knew I hooked up with a lot of people during that time in my life. He did offer to talk to her, but she's not even talking to me right now, and the two of them have never been super close. In the future, though, I do think it would be helpful to get his perspective, like you said. I'm prepared for lots of conversations and therapy sessions if need be. Hopefully, cutting open old wounds won't be quite as horrific as I'm imagining it. Edit. Why would you keep him around your family? Before I sign off and live life for a while, I wanted to answer the million-dollar question everyone seems to have. Why did I choose to keep Max in my life after marriage and starting a family? And really, it's just because he's a cool dude. He is the summer breeze and sweet sticky skin under the sun. He's freedom and unquenchable curiosity. I look at him and I see my youth and my right now and my future. A stupid co-owned stuffed animal from a claw machine that got passed on to his firstborn. Learning smoke on the water and the guitar and never forgetting it. Muscle memory, all these years later. There's so much love for the debauchery of our teens and 20s, but there's something so special about the adults we grow into after the lights come up at the end of the night, you know? He's a great friend, an even greater dad, and the greatest human. He teaches me things every day, and I hope he says the same about me. I just love the people in my life, man. So much. It's kind of ridiculous that I got this lucky, but my ego's big enough to convince me I deserve it. At least a little bit. I'll never take it for granted. And finally, one user commented and said, "You still love him. He's never going to choose you, OP. You are selfish. Let your wife go and let her find happiness." I'm not wanting to be chosen. This is purely platonic. He's one of my best friends, and there's a lot of memories and nostalgia tangled up into that. I also just really enjoy writing and trying to capture feelings, and this is the best way I know how to do it justice. It's all cool here, I promise. Update. I appreciate everyone's concerns in what I've posted here, constructive or otherwise. I'm always down for discussion and to hear different points of view, even if this has been a weird week of self-reflection. That's always a positive thing. The unrest and confusion are growing pains. There have been lots of conversations had between lots of parties over the past few days. One of the most enlightening for me was between myself and Max's wife, who we can call Christy. She's been a close friend of mine for over a decade now, and we had a very real heart-to-heart about how I've been feeling, how she and Max handled things in the past, and steps to take moving forward. It was equal parts tough love and comforting, both of which were much needed. Christy's a badass woman, and someone I respect a ton. There's been a running joke amongst our families and friends that we have no idea how Max managed to get stuck with two of the loudest people he knows as a best friend and partner duo, since he is so quiet, while Christy and I are not. He has always been the cool guy without effort. People were drawn to him because he was the guy standing in the corner of the party, not despite it. He was somehow above it all and in the thick of it, all at the same time, at least from an outside perspective. Then you get to know him, and suddenly you get it. You get him fully, and that trust felt like a sacred gift. Things are a little different now. With the angst of our collective 20s behind us, it's sweet to see how easily smiles are earned these days amongst our little circle, now that we've both become dads and huge softies. That is tough love, and preparation with Christy led to a conversation with my wife where we kind of laid down a game plan of how we were going to move forward. She was rightfully very upset and hurt that I kept this past relationship from her. One of the first steps of this whole thing was me admitting that as many times as I told myself it just didn't come up, that wasn't exactly the truth. The only way for it to come up was for me to bring it up, and I avoided doing that. So the course of action right now is starting couples therapy and individual therapy for me. I've got crap that I need to talk about, and a third-party unbiased person sounds like a dream. So, there you have it. No divorces or crazy curveballs, just two people working through their stuff. I'm very lucky to have so much unwavering support in my life. How special is it that I get to have two families instead of just one? There's twice the love, that's for sure. Now here are some more relevant comments. User 1 said, "Did you show your wife your love letter to Max?" She has not read anything I've written here, but she knows how much I love the people in our life and how much I love writing. I'm not quite as good as expressing myself out loud. I tend to overthink my words for fear of people not understanding me, whereas when I'm writing, it feels natural, but she still knows how I feel based on conversations we've had. Then user 1 commented again and said, "I think if you actually want to do this honestly, you should show your wife everything. If you're not quite as well articulated verbally, then it makes it even more important that you show her what you're writing. You say she knows how you feel, but if your feelings are best shown in written format, then you need to show her your writing. You've been lying by omission for years. You can't keep doing that if you want to save your marriage and reestablish trust with your wife." That is true. I might show her a version of it, as I don't think mentioning Reddit and strangers' advice would be the best course of action. I'm sure it'll all come out over the course of therapy. Then user 2 commented and said, "I find it very telling that you have given such huge, lovely descriptions about both Max and his wife, but didn't even give your own wife a name in any of your posts. You just call her wife and say nothing about her." My wife, who we can call Megan, is wonderful. She's the definition of a superhero mom, and getting to see her through our child's eyes made me love her even more, something I did not think was possible. She's creative and smart and funny. Our home is full of laughter and joy. I was trying to describe the conflict and give answers to people's questions, not slight her in any way. I hate that it's come off like that. So this is an interesting story because a lot of people in the comments are like, "OP, you still like this guy, you still got feelings for him," and then OP's like, "Nah, he's just a bro, he's just a friend, and I'm gonna talk good about him really well, and him and his wife, but also I'm not gonna talk good about my wife." Is that subconscious? Do I need help? I should go to therapy. I can smell purple. But on a serious note, he's going to therapy, and it seems like he's got a lot of things to untangle and talk about, and that's it. That's the best thing he can do. No divorce, no angry conversations. He definitely should have mentioned that to his wife because, like that one person said, everyone knew but her, so how can she not feel a little disgruntled and hurt by that? But yeah, people had a lot of adult conversations, and now they're going to do some adult problem solving and try to fix the problem, and we'll just see what happens, and hopefully, I really want to see an update for this one down the line. But anyway, next story. Story number 4. I, 31F, booked a trip with my two friends, 31F and 26M, only for them to tell me after that they've been dating for months. Now I'm expected to third wheel this trip and don't know what to do. As the title says, my friends and I booked a trip a few weeks ago. They both had me book non-refundable fares for both flight and hotel to save some money, which sure, I had no problem with. For context, she had just broken up with her long-term boyfriend in February. I didn't think anything was going on, but a week after we booked the trip, she sends me a text message and says her and my other friend have been seeing each other for a while. Clearly before she even broke up with the boyfriend. And they kept it a secret to make sure our friend group dynamic didn't change since we hang out weekly, and they were confident that nothing would change it. And that all would be normal, so they don't want me to be uncomfortable on the trip. I am so incredibly mad that they would, 1, not tell me about this prior to booking the trip and giving me the option to bail or get my own room, and 2, think I would be okay just being a third wheel and sharing a room with them, and 3, having me book non-refundable on top of that, so basically locking me in. I am upset they didn't consider this situation from my perspective and just decided I would be okay with it. I honestly don't know what to do to get out of this trip or the best way to go about it without sacrificing the friendship. I think he'd be understanding, but I'm not sure she would be. At this point, I'm willing to eat the cost, $700, because I just know I will likely be miserable the whole time. Just don't know if I should bail at all, or what should I say? Then in the comments section, OP elaborated on if she had a problem with her friends dating, and if she could get an extra bedroom so she doesn't have to share. I don't have a problem with them dating at all. I think they should have waited until the ex-boyfriend was out of the picture, but that's their own issue. I have a problem with them not telling me they were together before we booked the trip. If they were just honest about it from the beginning, then I wouldn't be upset. I can't get my own room without still having to pay my part of the room we already booked, so that's just more money on top of everything else. All this because sharing a room with a couple is awkward, even if they are my friends. Plus, it's their first trip away together. Of course, they're going to want some alone time. Then user 1 commented and said, "Honestly, that friend group has an expiration date. She's messy and drama, as well as toxic. You should go and try and enjoy this last trip with them as friends and just distance yourself if you don't want to have to choose when they break up." I thought the same. It inevitably won't last, and then I will be forced to pick sides since there's no way she would remain friends with him after as much as she said she will. Then OP replied to a comment on the possibility if she was trapped by her friends for them to rely on for the trip. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to go through him, if anything. He might be the only one to understand since she's someone that can only see things her way. I think they definitely knew I wouldn't have agreed, and they were relying on me for this trip solely for the fact that they never traveled before, and I have more experience, so it's hard not to feel used in this situation right now. Then user 2 commented and said, "Red flag. These so-called friends should be doing this. Is there a good reason why they didn't use one of their names/cards? Since it sounds more like the trip was their idea." The trip started out as mine and his idea. I booked the hotel and all of our flights because they haven't traveled before, so they wanted to make sure it was all done right. I didn't mind, and they paid me back their portions immediately. And finally, user 3 commented and said, "Is it possible for another friend to join the trip so you could still have fun? It sucks that they did this, and that's definitely not friend-like behavior. They won't see it from your side. They were actively cheating on friend's partner before their breakup instead of just calling it quits and then getting it together. They only care about their wants and are willing to use others if it's convincing for them. My petty self would go, even as a third wheel, and I would make them miserable because that friendship is dead anyway." I have asked a few of my other friends, but between money and getting vacation time off from work when the trip isn't far off, it's just not plausible for them. Update. Just wanted to clarify a few things based on some responses I received. I know I don't need to justify anything to people on Reddit, but felt the need to do so. I'm not jealous of the relationship. I'm not unhappy for my friends. I am unhappy that they started this relationship while she was still with her ex-boyfriend. And lastly, I do not and never had feelings for my male friend. I also know their relationship is not my business, and if there was no trip involved, then I wouldn't have expected them to tell me if they didn't want to, but that wasn't the situation. Also, I appreciate everyone's responses. A lot of them were very helpful. I hung out with my 2 friends this weekend. I acted completely normal, but he couldn't even bother to make eye contact with me, would only speak to me when spoken to, and was acting extremely awkward. I don't know if he feels guilty now that I know or what, but it's his issue, not mine. They didn't want the friendship dynamic to change, but they're the ones changing it by not acting normal when I am. They were just discussing the 2 of them planning things to do on the next trip next time they hung out, just the 2 of them. And so today, I took that as my opportunity to message them and ask if they even wanted me to come on this trip anymore based on them already planning things without me. I told them I feel uncomfortable going because the dynamic has changed, even if they want to insist it hasn't, and that I really don't want to be a third wheel on the trip. I said I'm more than happy to sit this one out and for them to have a couples trip. I also let them know that I wished they had considered my feelings and told me prior to the booking instead of deciding that I would be okay with everything. She read my message and is yet to respond. It's been hours now, and he responded and is basically begging me to still come. I did say I wouldn't expect them to pay me back back, but that I would try to get some of my money back, flight credit, see if I could change the room, so I didn't want money to influence whether they want me there or not. Hopefully she's just taking a bit of time to respond, and the two of them will ultimately be okay with and respect my decision. I don't want to cut them off as friends. I don't think they intentionally manipulated me or anything, but I will likely just be limiting how available I am to them for the time being, and spending more time with other friends. Update. My other friend did finally respond to me a couple of days ago, but there's just no point entertaining it. She got completely defensive and made herself out to be the victim in all of this. I didn't answer, and then she followed up with saying that because we agreed to this trip as being the three of us in mind, I should still split the cost of any transportation, Ubers, and things like that we've shared, / split the cost 3 ways. I told her absolutely not. I said I was willing to eat the hotel cost as it was prepaid, but anything you guys do there has nothing to do with me. She hasn't contacted me since. My male friend is also now giving me the silent treatment. Not sure if that's her doing or not. Either way, it's a good time to cut them both off. Now, here are some more relevant comments. User 1 said, "Good for you. And again, I'd most definitely not go. I truly hope that you've already called the airline and the hotel to cancel or differ your hotel date to another time if you can, and hopefully get airline credit for your ticket. Please do this ASAP. Don't let them talk you into going on this trip. You will be the third wheel. They've already been planning activities without you." I am working on the flight and hotel right now to see what can be done. I'm not going to let them talk me into going. The fact that they were already planning things without me sealed the deal for me since I was conflicted before. Then user 2 commented and said, "They were banking on you funding part of this trip for them. That's why he's begging. 100% she's trying to figure out how to word it so you still come. You were so kind and nice, more than I would be. Also, who wants to be a third wheel on their first trip together? They think you'd be cool following them around like a lost puppy. Also, sharing a room while they're probably trying to get you out while they have sex, or worse, do it while you sleep, is gross." I will probably never know what their true intentions were with this trip. He just keeps saying he wants me there since it was mine and his idea for the trip. If I do get a response from her, there's no way she'll be able to convince me. My mind is made up. I did not want to start anything over this or come off as angry, so maybe I was a bit more nice than I should have been. I just wanted them to understand that third wheeling and sharing a room wouldn't be fun or comfortable for me. He said nothing would happen, but I can't trust what they say at this point. Then user 3 commented and said, "OP, you said, I did say I wouldn't expect them to pay me back? Girl, they owe you that money. They were the ones who convinced you to make non-refundable purchases for them. They waited until the last moment to confess their relationship because they wanted you to bow out of the trip so they could have a free couples vacation. Either way, they need to pay you back for everything, or you take the vacation without them." I know. I was just willing to eat the cost if they accepted my decision and just didn't make it a bigger deal than it needs to be, or beg me to still go. Obviously, the kind thing to do would be for them to pay me back my part, but I can't rely on them for that. They did pay me for their parts of the trip already at least, so it's not entirely free for them. Then OP replied to a comment on if the trip was the male friend's idea and how the female friend became involved with the trip. The trip was his and my idea, but she was always invited. The three of us are close friends and hang out often, so we plan a lot of things together, this trip included. We started making rough plans for this trip late last year, but didn't book it until March. She wouldn't tell me exactly when they started seeing each other, but said a few months now. She told me this a week after we booked the trip, so obviously was going on long before I booked. I do feel a little betrayed. I really don't know why they couldn't have just told me. I would say him and I are closer friends, even though I've known her longer. So I think that explains why he's feeling and acting more guilty than she is. Then OP elaborated on making phone calls to get her money back besides the flight credit. I was able to call the hotel today with my male friend and switch the booking to his name, and he gave them his credit card, so at least he stuck to that. Not much could be done as far as getting all of my money back, but the manager was nice enough to amend the booking to 2 guests and refund me the small difference that adding a third guest added to the total. Not too much, but any bit back was appreciated. And still, nothing from the other friend. Then user 4 commented and said, "These are crappy friends. Seems like she wanted you there to split Ubers? Really?" Yeah. She still asked me to split the cost of those for when they go because she budgeted her money for the trip thinking I'd be splitting those things with them. And finally, user 5 commented and said, "If your other friend group has distanced themselves from this person, it is for a reason. This person showed you who she is. Believe her. If you continue this friendship, she will continue to treat you the same way. People like that are friendship leeches. They will feed off of your kindness and love until they bleed you dry. As far as your male friend, you may have to back up from that friendship too. If he is so quick to toss you to the side for this person and not even feel comfortable to tell you that they were dating before this trip, how important are you to him? If he is so quick to toss you to the side for this person and not even feel comfortable to tell you that they were dating before this trip, then how important are you to him? You sound like a wonderful, caring person, so take that care, love, and energy that you would have put into these two friendships and pour that into yourself and your other close friendships." I fully agree. It took me a bit longer than my other friends, but I finally got there. I won't be continuing the friendship going forward after all of this. Plus, the cheating I don't condone. I think she likely won't let him continue talking to me. So I've made my peace with that, and I'm fine with it since he's also clearly not the person I thought he was, and didn't value our friendship as much as he said and as much as I thought. Thank you for your sweet message. I appreciate it. Okay, so there's a lot to discuss here, so let's get into it. Do you guys remember after the Hannah Montana movie when Miley came home from Tennessee Yeehaw country and figured out that Oliver and Lily were dating? This is just like that, except worse in every conceivable way, and there's not even a laugh track to ease the tension. Anyway, I'm sorry, I had to make the comparison. I saw it the second I read the title and was holding on to it ever since. But as for the story, OP did the right thing. And as for the two former best friends, we don't need to get into them. We know what they did wrong. They didn't consider OP. They're being jerks. They, were trying to take advantage of her. They were going to have her be a third wheel. They were hiding. There was cheating going on. There's so much they did wrong. We already know what they did wrong. Forget about them. Focus on OP. This is her day, okay? She has gotten rid of this baggage. And now she got some new besties, okay? I'm gonna go be her best friend. You can go be her best friend, okay? Let's go. Let's go to the mall, guys, all right? Thank you so much for watching. We're going to the mall. If you want to come, you're more than welcome to. Have a good day. Bye-bye.